Today, as another fun project to review some of the skills we've learned so far, we're going to be making a keychain inspired by this Ghibli character called Jiji from the movie Kiki's Delivery Service. That's Jiji from Majo no Takyubin. Let's get started. So I'm back here again with a blank Fusion 360 design, and to the left here I have the reference image opened. As always, I'm going to start by creating a sketch on the top face. Now, since I'm going to freehand the drawing, I'm going to start by creating a square just to show me the size of the keychain that I want. I'm going to go and I'll go to rectangle and select the center rectangle, and I'll start at the middle and I'll pull it out. Escape. Next I'm going to use the equals tool and make these two sides the same. So now I have a square. Remember using escape to get rid of the tool. And I'm just going to set the dimensions for this using the dimension tool here, or the hotkey D. I want mine to be 6 centimeters, so it'll be 60 here. And as always, I'm going to make this a construction line. So what I'm going to do is click this line and then click twice fast. That should select all of them. Now I can use 2 fingers, click again, and this menu will open and I can make it construction. This is just a recap. Now looking at this picture, I think I'm just going to make a keychain of the head, and I'm going to start by making this kind of outline. The main shape I see here is an oval, so we'll start with looking for an oval. In the create section, I see the ellipse. This looks like it'll work. So I'm going to start at the center, stretch it out straight, and then stretch it upwards, and escape. To make this ellipse the shape that I want, I'm just going to set these side lengths. Let's try 46, looks pretty good. And then dimension for the height as well, let's try 37. Yeah. Looking at the picture again, this looks pretty good to me. And now all I have to do is go ahead and add the ear shape. So looking at the shape of the ears, you can position it however you'd like, but it's a little bit curvy and not a complete triangle, so I'm going to go ahead and use the spline line. I'll start somewhere here, and I'll just draw the ear on one side. Looks like it goes up like this and curves a bit at the top, and then goes straight down. So click OK once you snap it to the edge of this ellipse. And now looking at our design, I'm just going to adjust the shape how I'd like, and it looks like both ears are pretty symmetrical, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mirror this shape to the other side. It looks like we might be able to use this line as the mirror line, so we don't have to create a new one. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the mirror tool at the top left. I'll select the ear shape, and then I'll click this mirror line section, and I'm going to select this. It looks like it's not able to select. It might be because it's part of the ellipse. In that case, it looks like we will have to be drawing another center line. That's alright, it's always a matter of trial. But right now, I'll just go ahead and draw that line from the center. For convenience, I'll make this a center line. And then I can go ahead and repeat those steps. Perfect. So it looks like it already detected our center line since we set it to the right center line settings. And now I can just click OK. When we draw freehand drawings like this, it might be hard to get all of the dimensions set, and in this case these are still loose. When you're trying to share projects with other people, that might not be a good thing, but in our case, since we're just making a short project for ourselves, this is fine. Now that we have this basic shape, I'm going to go ahead and use the regular line tool to draw in the whiskers. You'll see there are 3. So I'm going to try to copy those. Again, I'm only going to be drawing them on one side. I'm also going to be deleting these right angle constraints since we don't really need them for this shape. Okay, now that I have these whisker designs that I'm pretty happy with, I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that the distances here between these smallest points are large enough. I don't want them to be able to snap off if I decide to print this, so it'll just take a little bit more adjusting. And then I'm going to go ahead and use this trim tool at the top. Clicking the trim tool, I'm going to just hover over this line between the whisker and the ellipse, and once you click, it'll be able to cut it. You might get some warnings since a few dimensions were removed, and that might be with the ellipse, the ones we had set before, but it should be okay. And yeah, once you trim all of those edges, we can escape. Select the mirror tool first and then click these. And I'm going to select this mirror line. Perfect. You'll notice since this side still has the ellipse intact, you'll have to trim it also, so that'll give us extra practice with the trim tool. Just cutting off these edges.
You'll notice there are a couple white points, and that means they're not attached, so we can either drag them to wherever we want to attach it to, like this ellipse, or we can use the coincident sketch constraint.
Now we see that our shape is able to be selected and we should be able to extrude. So I'm going to close that sketch and I'm going to click the extrude tool, and I think I'm going to extrude it. Let's start with 3 millimeters. You'll see now we have our general shape. It's looking quite good. And what we're going to do after that is we're going to add a new layer for the eyes, the nose, and then this part of the ears. So I'm going to click this face of the body and I'm going to start a new sketch. Looking at the ears, it looks like we have this purple kind of shape in the middle, so I'm going to try to draw that too. One way I can do that is I can use the spline and draw a new line, since we notice it's not perfectly the same as the ear silhouette. Let's see, it looks like it goes up, something like this, and we can look at the image again and just check, and then it goes straight down. So in that case, I'm going to finish this line once and create a new one at the same point. We want it to curve slightly here, and then I'm going to just have it go down. Once you have this kind of shape that you're happy with, we're going to go ahead and draw this section of the fur. Again, I'll select the spline tool and just kind of follow this curve, and I'll stop the spline tool when I want there to be a sharp edge, starting it again from the same point. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to adjust these shapes a little bit. If you end up not making this some corners very sharp, you can also always edit it by moving these 2 dots close together. You can make it pretty sharp, although it won't be completely sharp like the other edges. Zooming out here, you'll notice our shape's looking pretty good. Maybe I'll just follow the picture and try to adjust the angles a little bit. Okay, now that we have a shape we like, I'm going to go ahead and create a center line here. And I'm going to set it to centerline so I can now mirror it over to this side. Clicking the mirror tool, I'll collect these edges, and since there's a lot of points and edges here, I'm actually just going to drag across my screen. This drag means you have to select these pieces fully for it to all get selected, whereas I'm going to X out. If you drag from the right to the left, anything touching the box is going to be selected. So you'll see these ones were also selected. I'll probably use the one where we drag from the left to the right, since that way if the lines are fully covered, it'll be selected, but ones that aren't covered won't be. Okay, so now I'm going to click OK, and we'll see we have both of these faces. This looks pretty good to me. And on this same layer, let's go ahead and create the eyes. It looks like the eyes are pretty round, but maybe not complete circles, so what we could do is we could use the spline tool and draw like a circular shape. Again, I'm going to edit it and just make it how I like. It looks like the pupils are oval, and in that case I'm going to be using the ellipse tool again. And for this too, if you want the eyes to be the same, you can always mirror them over. That's one option. I think I'll try that too. But if you want to draw two ones and make them a bit different, you can also do that. And now for the nose, I'm just going to again use the spline tool and draw it somewhere around the middle, like this. Kind of making a slight triangular shape. But I don't want the nose to be perfectly symmetrical, so I'm not going to mirror it. If you did want it to be, you can always do the same thing as we did for the ears and the eyes. Looking at the picture, it looks like the nose is a little bit smaller, so I'm going to go ahead and fix that. And remember, with the spline tool, you can always delete points by two-finger clicking, and I think you can just do delete. See how that looks? That looks pretty good to me. If you wanted, you could also add like a small line for the mouth, but I think I'm going to keep mine like this. Now I'm going to click Finish Sketch. What we'll do on this time is we'll take the extrude and we'll select all of these new faces. And we'll click the nose as well, and I'm going to extrude this out 2 millimeters. You'll see now we have a very good Jiji the cat shape. Now if you were printing this, you would want the places where it's different colors to be different layers. So you would print the bottom layer as black, like this. You could also probably print these eyes like that. And then you'd want to print the next layer maybe as purple for the ears, or white. And since these two are different colors, you would want to extrude these ones one more time and make it a little bit thicker than the ears, so that you could print it as a different color. This is because the 3D printers usually print in flat layers, the standard ones with plastic, and that way you can pause the print in between these layers to make them different colors. But for now, we'll just keep it like this. And since this is a keychain, one thing I'm noticing that we didn't add is a hook. We can always draw the hook onto our original sketch, so I guess I'll do that. I'll double click the sketch to open it, and if that doesn't work, you can also two-finger click. You can also two-finger click the sketch and do edit sketch. So I'm going to zoom in and just look at the middle here. What I want to do is I'm going to draw a circle on the center line, and I'm going to dimension it to the size of my keychain. So my keychain For this one I'll do 5mm, make it quite large, and move it up a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and, let's see, I'm going to draw a larger circle starting from the same center point and stretch it out. And then I'm going to dimension the distance between these two. 2 is fine. And finally I'm going to just connect this piece to the oval. What I can do here is I can select these two and I can use the horizontal vertical tool to make them straight. And that looks pretty good. If you want and you know your keychain size, you could make it a bit smaller, like say 4, and make this one like 1.5. We can also, you see we can move these up and down, so I might set a dimension for this one. Let's try 5. It looks like since I did this dimension it messed up some of the ears, so I'm actually going to go back using Command Z, and maybe I'll just drag it down with my mouse first before setting the dimension. Because all of these lines are connected, it looks like it's having some trouble when I set a specific dimension. That's okay, I can just leave it as this number. And I'm going to finish sketch. Now you'll see that nothing happened with that, and that's because we didn't select that face in our extrude. So we're going to have to go back, use 2 fingers, and we're going to do edit feature. And I'm going to go ahead and extrude these edges and these ones as well, leaving the hole there. Now you'll notice we have a nice keychain made, and you have somewhere where you can hang it through. And if you were printing this, just remember you would want to make the eyes a little bit higher than the ears, so you can print a different color on a different layer, and you'd also make the nose a little bit higher than the eyes.